The handcuffs closed on Anna's wrists, the maid, and she saw her employer, Elizabeth, smiling. Elizabeth, who always said, "I trust you with my son," now spat out, "Thief! Rot in jail," because Elizabeth blamed her for stealing the family's $250,000 necklace. A necklace Anna never touched, but which Elizabeth needed to disappear to pay off gambling debts with the insurance. Then, 3 months later, in court, Anna's lawyer called the only eyewitness, the 1-year-old baby. Elizabeth laughed, saying, "That's ridiculous." But the ridiculous was about to destroy her. But when the baby pointed, it wasn't at Anna, it was at her mother's hair. And what the judge ordered next left the entire court speechless. But let me tell you how Anna, a woman who only knew how to work, ended up in that hell. Anna had worked for Elizabeth for 5 years. Ever since Elizabeth and her husband Richard moved into that luxury penthouse. Richard was always traveling for business, barely ever home. It was Anna who ran everything. Anna wasn't just the maid. She was the housekeeper, the cook, the confidant. When Elizabeth got pregnant, it was Anna who held her hand during the morning sickness. Anna who made her soup in the middle of the night. Anna who assembled the crib because Richard was in Dubai closing a deal. And when little Leo was born, it was Anna who taught Elizabeth how to give him a bath. But the truth is, Elizabeth was never very interested. The baby was an accessory. It was Anna who changed the diapers, who woke up with his cries, who sang him to sleep. The boy, Leo, was more attached to Anna than to his own mother. And Elizabeth hated that. She hated the way Leo's eyes lit up when Anna entered the room. Elizabeth was a cold woman, obsessed with status, obsessed with appearances. And she had a secret addiction, online gambling, thousands of dollars every week. And she was losing, badly. She had emptied their joint accounts without her husband knowing. And now a loan shark was at her door. A dangerous man. She needed money fast. That's when she looked at the safe. Inside it was the Victorian necklace, Richard's grandmother's heirloom. A piece valued at $250,000. The insurance policy was huge. It was the perfect solution. If the necklace was stolen, the insurance would pay out. She'd pay off the loan shark, and her husband would never know about the debts. But she needed a scapegoat. And who better than the maid her son loved more than her? Who better than Anna, who had the trust of the house and knew where Elizabeth kept the spare key to the safe? It was the perfect plan. Stories like this, about a total breach of trust, are the ones that hit us the hardest. If you believe the truth always finds a way, hit that like button to support justice for Anna. And if you love stories where the villain's mask finally comes off, subscribe to the channel, because what comes next is the definition of justice. The discovery of the theft was pure theater. Elizabeth waited for her husband to leave on another trip. She came down to the living room, clutching her silk robe, and let out a scream that echoed through the penthouse. "Anna, Anna! The safe!" Anna dropped the baby in his playpen and ran. The safe was open, empty. "My necklace!" "Oh my God, they took the necklace." Anna turned pale. "Ma'am, how?" "Who came in here?" Elizabeth looked at her, her eyes as cold as ice. "Who came in?" "You're the only one who knew about the spare key, you worthless thief." Anna recoiled. "Elizabeth, for God's sake, I would never—" "Shut up! Did you think I was stupid? Did you think I didn't see the way you looked at my things?" Elizabeth grabbed the phone and called the police, bursting into fake tears. "I've been robbed." It was the maid. She stole everything. The police arrived in 10 minutes. Elizabeth, sobbing, told them, "Check her room. I'm sure she hid it there." The officers, treating Anna as guilty from the start, tore apart her mattress, her few clothes, and of course they found it. Tucked inside an old boot was a pair of emerald earrings. Earrings Elizabeth had lost 2 weeks ago. She had planted them. It was the proof the police needed. Anna tried to speak. "Those aren't mine."
She put them there.
"I swear!" But no one listened. The handcuffs snapped shut on her wrists, right in front of baby Leo, who watched everything from his playpen, not understanding why his Nana was being taken away. As they led her down the hall, Anna looked back, and she saw it. Elizabeth, who had been crying for the police, stopped for 1 second, looked at Anna, and a tiny victorious smile crossed her lips. In that instant, Anna understood. It was all a setup, and she was completely alone. The next 3 months were the worst nightmare of Anna's life. She was denied bail, or rather, bail was set at $50,000. Impossible. She was thrown into an overcrowded cell, treated like a common criminal. She cried for days, not for the prison, but for Leo. Who was taking care of him? That baby needed her. Elizabeth's husband, Richard, returned from his trip, but Elizabeth had poisoned him completely. She betrayed us, Richard. She was a snake, and she even tried to blame me. Richard, a weak man, believed his wife. He hired the best law firm in the city for the prosecution. For Anna, the state offered a public defender, Mr. Matthews, a young, tired man overloaded with hundreds of lost causes. At their first meeting, he barely looked at her. Anna, the evidence is strong. They found jewelry in your room. Your employer says you were the only one who knew about the spare key. The DA is offering a plea deal. 6 years, with parole for good behavior. Anna gripped the bars of the visitation room. Sir, I didn't steal anything. I swear on my mother's life. She framed me. Matthews sighed. He heard this every day. Anna, why would she do that? I don't know, but she hates me. She hates that Leo loves me. Matthews shook his head. It wasn't enough. That won't hold up in court, Anna. I need more. Anna broke down. It felt like the end, but Matthews, despite his exhaustion, had one rule. He never ignored his gut. There was something in Anna's desperation that felt real. He decided to dig. Just a little. He started with the basics. Anna's alibi. Elizabeth said the theft happened on Tuesday between 10 and 11 a.m. while she was in the shower. Anna said she was at the grocery store. Matthews pulled the security footage from the market down the street, and there she was. Anna, pushing a cart, checking out at 10:17 a.m. She only got back to the building at 11:05 a.m. The timeline was tight, but possible. It wasn't enough to clear her. We are at the exact halfway point and the tension is real. If you're rooting for Mr. Matthews to uncover the truth, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. If you're already subscribed, thank you, because the twist in this story starts now. Matthews decided to dig deeper. If it wasn't Anna, who was it? There was no sign of forced entry. So it was either Anna or Elizabeth herself. An inside job, but why? He started investigating Elizabeth's finances. Bingo, maxed out accounts, credit cards at their limit, and most importantly, he discovered Elizabeth had called the insurance company for the necklace less than an hour after calling the police, before the forensics team had even arrived. What kind of victim is more worried about the insurance payout than the trauma? He kept digging, and he found the name. A known loan shark, a man they called the Shark. Rumors were that Elizabeth owed him over $50,000. Suddenly, it all made sense. She wasn't robbed. She staged the robbery. She hid the necklace. She would collect the $250,000 from the insurance and still have the necklace to sell or keep later. And she used Anna as a scapegoat to make the robbery story believable. Matthews felt sick to his stomach. The cruelty of it was monstrous. He had the theory, but how to prove it? How could he prove Elizabeth still had the necklace? He went to visit Anna in jail again. This time he looked her in the eyes. Anna, I believe you, but I can't prove it. The DA will say I'm inventing a conspiracy theory to save my client. I need something concrete. Think, Anna. Anything. A detail about the necklace, about her, about the baby. Anna closed her eyes. The cell was cold. She thought about the last few months, about Elizabeth's arrogance, about Leo's cries, and then she remembered. She opened her eyes. Sir, there is one thing. It's weird, but what, Anna? Anything. It's Leo, the baby. He was obsessed with the necklace. Elizabeth used it to distract him when he was fussy. She bought a wig once, a ridiculous blonde wig for a costume party, and she would play a game with Leo. She'd put the necklace on under the wig, hide it in her hair, and shake her head, saying, "Where's the sparkle, Leo? Where's the sparkle?" And the boy would laugh, crawl over and pull at her hair until he found the necklace. He was fixated on it. He always knew where the sparkle was. Matthews froze. His blood ran cold. She played this game with the wig. Yes, Anna, is Elizabeth wearing a wig in court? Anna thought. Yes. Ever since the day of the robbery. She said the trauma made her hair fall out. A blonde wig. Matthews slammed his fist on the table, startling the guard. My God, she wouldn't... No. He looked at Anna. It's a long shot, Anna. It's a huge risk. But it might be our only chance. To do what, sir? Matthews smiled for the first time. To call your only eyewitness, Leo. The final day of the trial arrived. The courtroom was packed. The media was there. The case of the thieving nanny was a media circus. Richard, the husband, sat in the front row, glaring at Anna with pure hatred. Anna sat next to Matthews, trembling. The prosecutor, an arrogant older man, gave his closing argument. He painted Anna as an ungrateful snake. She was given shelter. She was given food. She was given the trust of her family. And what did she do? She stabbed her benefactors in the back. She stole a family heirloom. She deserves nothing less than the maximum sentence. The jury looked convinced. The prosecution, paid for by Richard, called its star witness. Elizabeth took the stand. She was flawless. She wore an expensive somber gray dress, and the blonde wig perfectly styled. She looked like a suffering saint, her lawyer began. Elizabeth, can you tell us what happened on August 12th? Elizabeth began to cry. Crocodile tears perfectly rehearsed. It was horrible. I trusted her. I trusted her with my son. She told the story of the robbery, the lie about the earrings, the betrayal she felt. I'll never get over this. She took the safety of my home. She was so convincing even the judge looked sympathetic. The prosecutor smiled, satisfied. No further questions, Your Honor. The judge looked at Matthews. Defense. Your witness. Matthews stood up. The courtroom fell silent. Mrs. Elizabeth, you said Anna was like a second mother to Leo, correct? Elizabeth hesitated. Yes, she cared for him. And he was very attached to her, wasn't he? Yes, children get attached easily. And was he also attached to shiny objects? Like the necklace? Elizabeth's face changed. Just for a second. A flash of panic. I don't know what you're talking about. He's a baby. Did he like the necklace, Mrs. Elizabeth? Yes or no? He's a baby. He likes keys. He likes anything. Matthews walked to his table. Your Honor, my client is being accused of a serious crime. The only other person in that apartment, besides Anna and Elizabeth, was her son Leo. I would like to call Leo to the stand. The prosecutor burst out laughing. Objection! This is a circus. He's 1.5. What's he going to do? Testify? Matthews turned to the judge. No, Your Honor, I don't want him to testify. I want to test Mrs. Elizabeth's emotional alibi. She claims to be traumatized. But is she so traumatized that she cannot hold her own son in her lap for 5 minutes? Elizabeth, seeing the trap, interrupted. No, he'll be scared. I don't want my son in here. Too late. Her attempt to block it looked suspicious. The judge frowned. Mr. Matthews, this is highly irregular. But given the severity of the accusation, the bailiff will bring in the child. 5 minutes. But if this turns into a circus, you will be held in contempt. Anna's heart was beating so hard, it felt like it would burst from her chest. The side door opened. The new nanny, hired hastily by Elizabeth, brought in Leo. The boy looked at the courtroom, frightened. And then he saw Anna. His eyes went wide. Nana! He tried to jump out of the nanny's arms. Anna began to cry, a silent sob. The judge ordered, place the child in his mother's lap. Mrs. Elizabeth, calm your son. The nanny handed Leo to Elizabeth, who held him awkwardly, stiffly. She was terrified. Leo started to cry, reaching for Anna. Elizabeth tried to shush him. Shh, shh. Mommy's here. Matthews approached slowly. The court was so quiet you could hear a pin drop. Mrs. Elizabeth, did you love that necklace? Yes, it was my husband's grandmother's. And Leo? Did he like it too? Elizabeth didn't answer. She was trying to restrain the squirming baby. Matthews looked at the little boy, and he said the phrase Anna had taught him. Leo, where's the sparkle? The baby stopped crying. Instantly, he knew that game. He looked at Matthews. Then he looked at his mother. A grin spread across his baby face, and in front of the judge, the jury, and the entire courtroom, he jammed both his hands into Elizabeth's blonde wig and pulled with all his might. Sparkle! The wig went flying, and for a second all anyone saw was Elizabeth's sweaty, matted brown hair underneath. But that's not what shocked them. Tangled in her real hair, wound tightly against the nape of her neck, was the necklace, the $250,000 diamond necklace. It glittered under the courtroom lights. The silence lasted 1 second, and then chaos. The judge slammed his gavel. "Order, order!" Elizabeth screamed, trying to hide the necklace, but it was caught in her hair. Richard, the husband, shot up from the front row, his face white as wax. "Elizabeth, what is that?" But it was another voice that sealed her fate. From the back of the courtroom, a large man in a cheap suit stood up. It was the loan shark. The shark? He'd come to make sure Anna was convicted, so the insurance would pay out and he'd get his money. But seeing the necklace, he realized he'd been double-crossed. And he roared, "You witch! You promised me that necklace. You told me the cops had it. You owe me $50,000. It was the confession they needed. The judge pointed his gavel.
"Bailiff!"
"Arrest that woman! And arrest that man!" Elizabeth was handcuffed right there, on the witness stand, screaming and cursing. Perjury, insurance fraud, false accusation, obstruction of justice. The judge looked at Anna. "Ms. Anna, this court has failed you. This case is dismissed. You are free to go." The guards removed Anna's handcuffs. She just stood there in shock, and in the middle of the chaos, baby Leo, who had been dropped to the floor when his mother was arrested, crawled across the courtroom floor. He crawled past the judge, past the lawyers, and didn't stop until he reached Anna. He wrapped his arms around her legs and looked up, smiling. "Nana." Anna picked him up, held him so tightly, and wept. A cry of relief, of pain, of justice. Today, 8 months later, Elizabeth was sentenced to 12 years in prison. The shark got 5 for extortion. Richard, humiliated and bankrupted by the insurance fraud, filed for divorce and moved out of the country. And Anna, with his mother in prison and his father absent, the judge granted temporary custody of Leo to the only person who had ever truly loved him. Anna now lives in a simple house far from the city. Just her and Leo. We learned in that story that innocence always finds a voice. Sometimes it's just the voice we least expect. If you've ever had to prove your innocence when no one believed you, you know the depth of Anna's despair. And if you, like me, believe that the truth, no matter how long it takes, always comes to light, give this video a final like. If you made it this far, please subscribe. You're part of the group that believes in justice. And now, I want to hear from you in the comments. Have you ever been accused of something you didn't do, or watched someone get railroaded by a lie? How do you think Anna managed to endure those 3 months in jail? Let me know your thoughts.